Hey guys, it's me. It's been a while since I have made any videos, and that is because we actually hosted a wedding here on our property this past weekend, and it took a lot of work and a lot of time to get everything going, and we are finally back in a place where I feel like I can make videos and spend the time to do what editing I do and make sure that it's a decent video for you. So this first video back, I'm just going to kind of give you an update of what's been happening on the farm and let you see some of the progress that we've made. First up is the garden. You can see we have some corn here. This is popcorn and some decorative corn. Then we have in these little mounds are some melons. Yes, melons. This area has mounds of summer squash. I need to weed right around it, right around the plants. Then we have cucumbers and loofahs. So these are some loofahs. There's some cucumbers back there, and these are all cucumbers. There are a few cucumbers in this mess, but not very many. So I'm probably just gonna till that up. I need to till this up. It was supposed to be peanuts, but that did not, it doesn't look like any peanuts actually sprouted. It just looks like weeds. Then we have, these are peppers, and again I have to go through and actually weed around them. Like this is a pepper plant, there's a pepper plant in there, but also weeds. So I have to go through and weed around each individual plant still, but I've been keeping the rows under control in the summer garden because it's so large that if I don't, there's gonna be a problem. And then we get into our tomatoes, and actually the tomatoes are pretty good. There's not too much weeding that I have to do around them. I've been keeping up on top of those really well. So we have 3 rows of peppers, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 rows of tomatoes, and those are all looking good. These are beans that I need to actually take care of the weeds in. There are rows here that you can tell, but I need to take care of the weeds in between. And then this is our sweet corn, and it's sad. Not a lot of it popped up. So whenever I tear out everything from the spring garden, I'm gonna make more. I'm gonna plant more sweet corn. Then we have our spring garden, and this is potatoes that are doing very well. I've already gotten several heads of broccoli off of this stuff. This is cabbage, cauliflower, broccoli, some kale down there, red cabbage down there. This is the celery. This weekend I'm going to be wrapping twine around them so that they can be blanching. And then this stuff, you can see the stuff that looks like it's dying. There's 2 rows of garlic right here. And the lettuce and carrots never came up, and so this all just needs to be tilled up. It's just weeds, and I didn't stay on top of the spring garden like I've been staying on top of the summer garden, and that is what happens when you don't do that. Then we have 2 rows of onions that are doing relatively well. These are 3 rows of potatoes that are doing not well at all compared to the other potatoes that are down there. And our peas did not do well either. And I'm not positive that that's just because of the weeds. They weren't doing too well even whenever I was able to keep on top of them. And I think it's because the soil there's a lot of rocks in the soil. So then if we go back here, you can see a ton of green stuff back here, and all of this is sunflowers. And so the point of this is going to be to use the sunflowers for feeding the chickens whenever they become an actual sunflower itself. So these are all sunflowers. Now this area is supposed to be sweet potatoes and pumpkins, but none of it is doing very well, and I think that's partially because it just hasn't had good conditions for them to do very well. Too hot and too dry, and I can't keep up with all the watering on a daily basis. So I just watered this yesterday, and it needs watered again. So Then this last area was supposed to be part of our garden, but as you can see, there's tons of rocks. So we actually decided that we weren't going to do anything with this area except keep the weeds down, not let them spread so bad. So around the edges, it's not so great, but we did have weeds that were as tall as me and were all flowering, like you can see one right here. And so I've kept up on top of those as well. Over here is our berries, and they're not doing so great, honestly. I think again it's just been too hot, too dry, and I haven't been able to keep on top of them as well as I would like. And we need to mow in between the rows of berry bushes because it's being overthrown by weeds as well. Something else that's super exciting for us is that we went ahead and got bees this year. We made our little bee yard, and we have 5 hives, and they're doing pretty well, and they're actually pretty docile bees, so I'm pretty happy with that. We are waiting to add the next box until there are 7 frames drawn out, 7 frames of comb drawn out. And right now we're averaging about 5 or 6. So we will see what that looks like here in another week or so, and then I might be adding another box. Our strawberries over there need weeded, but they are doing well, the brand new ones. The older ones actually did give us quite a few berries this year. We froze some of them, but honestly it was right at crunch time for the wedding that they became ripe, and so I didn't get to harvest all of them. I got about half of them harvested before they started just going bad, and I was like, well, I'll leave it to the birds this year, because I wasn't expecting anything from this stuff based off of what the previous owners said. Then our asparagus is doing very well. You can see, like, this is all asparagus. It's relatively well weeded. It needs to be weeded again, but it's not too terrible. The thing with asparagus is you leave it alone for the first year. The second year you might be able to harvest a few shoots is what they're called, but the real harvest comes at year 3. So I'm just leaving it alone this year and letting it do its thing, let the roots expand and become what they need to be so that we can get a good asparagus harvest next year. This is our rhubarb. Same thing with rhubarb. You can harvest some of these this year, but it's just better to leave them alone and let them be harvested next year. Year 2 is the first year of a good harvest for rhubarb. Then we have our dent corn, and this corn, the purpose of it is to feed the chickens. Well, whenever I was planting the main garden, I ran out of space for the pumpkins that I wanted, because I want all different kinds of pumpkins for decorations in fall. So instead of just putting dent corn over here, we did decide to try out the 3 Sisters method of companion planting. So that is corn that you plant 2 weeks prior to planting beans. And when you plant the beans, they're pole beans, so they have something to climb up, and they also give extra nitrogen to the soil. And then you can plant some pumpkins or squashes. So here's a pumpkin that is growing pretty well. So this is going to be full of produce that is going to be growing, full of corn and beans and pumpkins and squashes. So that is something that I'm very excited about too. And the dent corn did come up a lot better than my sweet corn did. Something else that I am super excited to show you is the finished product on the Circle Drive. I don't know if you remember, but this all used to be grass, and we have completely changed it. There was one little circle of a garden in the very center in between those 2 trees, but we basically took everything out of that and transplanted most of it here, because it was mostly irises that were coming up that were just in the way and spreading like crazy. So I decided to put the irises over here. These are also some irises And maybe some lilies are coming up. And then some things, like these things, are very pretty. They're not blooming right now, but they are very pretty. And they just kind of came with the soil that these irises were in. So that's here. This is mostly what was in that little circle drive. Then this is a hydrangea bush that we did plant. My spillover petunias that I love. They're probably one of my favorite things in this garden right now. And this is another one of them. And it is a train that I got at an auction. We have some hostas around each of the trees, as well as begonias in some pots. We have some decorative grasses. This needs to be, I don't know how much of this is decorative and how much of it is weed. I need to go through that a little better. A butterfly bush, phlox along the pathway. I'm going to get some chairs for out here, some gliders, I think, for out here. Then I have a bunch of other different flowers and grasses here. Of course, a lily. I don't remember what this thing is called, but it's very, very pretty. And I loved it for like the 2 weeks that it was flowering, and now it's just seed pods. So we'll see what that looks like a little bit later. But all of these things seem to be doing well. Another hydrangea, I think. With lots of pots. Impatiens in the shady parts, begonias in the shady parts. My petunias are sad because they need water. I need to water these guys, these pots. That's a constant battle. Watering everything is a constant battle. But everything seems to be doing decently. I have pots with flowers all around all the buildings, and over here, all in front of the machine shop. Part of this was because I love flowers, and I had so many, because we went to an Amish auction. I don't know if any of you have ever been, but they sell flowers by an entire row on a cart, probably like a 4-foot row, 4 to 5 flats of flowers in each row, and each flat is probably 24 different flowers. So I had a ton of flowers that I needed to plant. My mom took 6 flats, and then the rest have all been just planted in various places on my property in pots. So it's been crazy busy with flowers. The other thing that we did was we added 4 new rabbit friends, and we made rabbit cages out here in the garden shed. It just got too hot for them, and they were just constantly panting. So we decided to go outside with it, but in an area that is protected in case of bad winds in the winter. But these are the original 3 that we got: girl, boy, girl. And we have several more. Both of those 2 are girls, and both of those 2 are boys, and they are not related. The boys are brothers, but the others are not related at all. And they just they hang out here whenever I harvest their poop for, first of all, they're a mess when they eat. This is all relatively good hay, unfortunately, but whenever I do harvest their poop, it can go straight into the garden. I know it's kind of a walk to do that right now, but this is a better place for them so they don't overheat. Last time I made a video about the chickens. The original 12 were a lot smaller than they are now. It's been about, I don't know, 2 months, a month maybe, month and a half, I don't know, since I made a video about them. Well, they are now big enough that they are hopping over the fence to get into the orchard. So, like, there's one doing what she does, which is whatever she pleases, really. And because they've been hopping over the fence, I've just been leaving the gate open. And you can see back there, behind the two under the tree, that's one of the new babies. It's a black sex link, I think. Don't quote me on that. So we also have a ton of new babies as well. I had some people from, well, first of all, here's a bunch of them. The ones that I ordered came in, and about the same time, schools had chicks that were hatching, and they said, hey, my mailman has a daughter who works in one of the said schools, and he goes, hey, we have all these chicks that need a home, and I know that you have chicks, so I was wondering if you wanted more. So I have a ton of chicks now. I think I'm up to 60 chickens. And they're not as friendly as the original 12. I also had one casualty out of the original 12. Bandit, my dog, got her. But he has, I think, learned since then not to get them, because we haven't had any more issues like that. Here's some. They all like to nest in the nesting boxes, and they roost now, and it's really nice to see. Oh, they got into the treat bag. That's cool. So speaking of the orchard, some of the trees that we planted are doing well, and some I think are dead. The pears are doing well. There's that one and that one. They're doing very well. This is a tree that was not planted by us. It was planted probably a year or two before we moved here, but it was like sideways, so we fixed it up with some twine, and it seems to be doing very well. But then here's an apricot tree that just doesn't, I think it's dead. And all my cherry trees, I'm pretty sure, are dead. Except I think that one actually is getting a little something off of the root, off of the base. And my other apricot tree is dead. This cherry tree snapped off a few days ago. There's where it is, but it was dead and it snapped, so. And then this one, let's see. Pretty sure this is a cherry tree, or part of a cherry tree that is coming up. Yeah, it's off of the base of it. So this one's still alive in that part, but that part's not. So we'll see. We are getting plenty of apples and pears and, or not pears, plenty of apples and peaches and nectarines. These are apples. I think this one is plum tree, and it's pretty full. It might be apple though. It kind of also looks like apple to me, to be honest. These are nectarine, I think. They're not fuzzy, but they're definitely a peach kind of thing. This is an apple tree, that's an apple tree, and this is maybe a peach. This looks fuzzy to me. Yeah, this is a peach tree. I have lots of birds nesting out here, so they're kind of angry that I'm over here. Some red-winged blackbirds, red-tipped blackbirds, something like that. But we are getting plenty of fruit. This is another peach. This one needs to be pruned in a bad way, so I will prune this next year for sure. Really well. You talking? Is that so? Hi. What you thinking? And this one's an apple. This one I believe is an apple as well. I think anyway. Guess we'll see here in a little while. A couple years maybe. So that is, I think, an update on everything that we have done. We also brush hogged, in case you couldn't tell. That happened right before the wedding, but that's nothing too exciting. It just is a thing that has to be done whenever you have a bunch of pasture and you don't have animals for the pasture yet. So hi Bear, hi Butters. Bear, come on. Hey, come on. Hi Bandit. Oh, the other thing that's pretty significant is Oreo ran off or got hurt or got taken or something, so we no longer have her, which is upsetting. And just here this past weekend, one of the windows in the basement broke and Theo got out and we haven't found him since. So Theo is our outdoor cat. We'll see if he shows up. It's not likely. It's been 3 days now, so it is what it is. The last significant thing that is happening, basically as we speak, is Bunny is pregnant and is not going to be pregnant for very much longer. She has shown signs that she is getting ready to give birth within the next 48 hours. So I will let you guys know whenever we have babies, but I actually need to go inside and get a box ready for her and maybe take her inside as well. We will see. But come here, baby. Come on. Here she is. She's a big girl now.